Hello and welcome back to The Hungry Lamb. My name is Ming Dynasty, and last time we decided to say our goodbyes to three of the girls, Honger, Queer, and Hua. Honger and Queer are going to work with Kite and try to basically grow up to be proper people. And we're going to try to find Hua's parents and basically reunite her with her family. But before we leave, we go to the market and buy a few gifts. We get I forgot exactly what they were. There was a rattle thing, there was a pinwheel, and there was this little drum thing. We give them the presents to the girls and set off with Mansui to go to Luoyang. So on our way there, we give Mansui her gift, and it is a pair of shoes, some new shoes that look quite well. And before we go to sleep, Mansui is like, "Do you regret killing the people you've killed?" And it goes on to the next scene, which is basically the continuation of Mansui's past. The father never came home, so the mother goes cray-cray. And I'm not gonna talk too much about it, but basically find out that her brother's been dead all along, and the mother kind of goes crazy and ends up hanging herself. So things are honestly extremely terrible. But now that her entire family is gone, I kind of wonder what she's gonna do. I feel like the only option for her, or at least the past version of Mansui, would be to go find her father, because she hasn't confirmed whether or not he's run away or he's, dead. I'm pretty sure she thinks... I don't know. I don't know what Mansui thinks, because she doesn't think that her father will betray the family, but I don't think she wants to know whether or not her father has passed. But the next chapter is called Fireworks, I believe. So, I guess we're gonna have a better time, hopefully. But let's head into it. After 2 days in the wagon, we finally reached Luoyang on the third day. Luoyang, our original destination. Originally, Tung and I were supposed to bring 4 lambs here, but things changed. I killed Tung. 3 lambs were sent away and settled. I also want to look here because, once again, we're at the last event before... basically where we get an ending, I assume, because here it's, here we have the affinity stuff, so each one is probably going to lead to its own ending. And we also have, I think, potentially 3 Mansui sections. So I'm assuming that we're actually going to go here and then down, and then once we're here, maybe we'll get one of the endings. I guess we'll see. Either way, we're kind of close to the end of the game, or at least what I expect to be the end of the game. We're at the end game now because we've arrived at Luoyang. I wonder whether or not they'll show what the swine demon looks like, because the description of the swine demon was quite something. 3 lambs were sent away and settled. Now it's just me and Mansui. We got off the wagon at a desolate spot a few miles from Luoyang and trekked towards the city. After about an hour, I spotted the city in a distance. Luoyang's walls were massive, standing over 100 feet tall and giving off a sturdy, imposing vibe. The walls were made of alternating blue bricks, while the gates were a striking red. At this moment, the city gate stood up open, with people coming and going continuously. I silently rejoiced that Luoyang wasn't sealed off like Haizhou, saving us a lot of trouble. However, there were still some changes around the city, possibly due to the rebellion. Outside the city wall stood a 10 feet tall earthen rampart. Seemed the newly built, likely for battle. Luoyang's prepared for battle? I guess maybe for defense, but I feel like Liang should be able to go into the city a lot more easily. Like other times he was potentially stopped for child trafficking, human trafficking, but this time he's only have one girl, which is Mansui, who is also very smart and very cooperative with Liang, so yeah. Luoyang is still far from the northern invaders, so it seems like this construction is more about dealing with rebellions.
どこから来た?
Huazhou.
ずいぶん遠いな。通行手形は?
Crap, we were supposed to get one of those. Kite's usually fairly efficient, so maybe she actually got us a pass. Sure, here it is. Yeah, I handed the guard the pass for my package, and he squinted at it for a moment.
本当に歌州から来たのか?
So you really came from there.
そっちの娘とはどういう関係だ?
Are we gonna say daughter? Sister? My sister.
よし、入れ。ずいぶん年の離れた兄弟だな。
You know what they say. It's never to... I don't know what they say. The guard eyed us suspiciously, but decided to let us in without further ado. Holding Mansui's hand. Oh, sorry, I thought I said holding man. Holding Mansui's hand, I guide her through the Lijing Gate into Luoyang. Oh, this is what Luoyang looks like. It definitely looks a lot better than some of the other places we've gone to. The streets of Luoyang were wider than any we've been to before. We walked along the big road connecting the east and west, with lots of shops on both sides, including tea houses, taverns, medicine shops, and pawn shops. Ooh, pawn shops. When we turned right at the corner, we stepped into a livelier market area. There were more people here, and we passed butcher shops, fish stalls, and all sorts of stores lining the streets. In addition to the shops, there were vendors under umbrellas in the open spaces, and people were always coming and going. Some were haggling with the vendors, some were resting under the shade, cooling off with their palm fans, and some were hauling ox carts to make deliveries. There were women buying groceries, scholars with square hats. Scholars, okay. What was the scholar hat like in this age period in China? I don't actually know. Traveling merchants, and you can even spot some caravan guards with hidden weapons. I misread this. I thought it said, Master Liang, Luoyang sure is bussin'. Where did you learn that language? I remember it being even busier last time, with crowds everywhere, making it hard to walk. But these last few years, with all the disasters and famine, people have less money, so it's nowhere as lively as before. I commented to Mansui, thinking back on Luoyang of the past. Yeah, felt like there used to be more folks around, through faces full of troubles. I guess we can always get food first, right? Let's find the inn first, drop off our stuff, then we can explore. She nodded in agreement. We kept walking ahead, passing through the busy market area until we reached a quieter street. Temples and shrines lined both sides of the road. After walking east for a bit, we arrived at the inn. This inn was different from the ones in Huzhou and Shanzhou. It wasn't the usual spot for shady dealers like us. Oh right, in the past two places they stayed at, it was because they had connections with Yin San and like this trading route that was managed basically by the swine demon. It was just a regular inn that I wasn't too familiar with. I had heard about this place from Tung before. He mentioned that this inn in Luoyang was usually quiet, so if our usual spots were full, we could stay here without drawing too much attention. And it looks exactly the same. He also looks very, I don't know, I was gonna say sus, but at this point they all look kind of like they're trying to get money out of you. As we entered the inn, the waiter greeted us. Staying. 2 rooms. 1 room, please. Hey, yeah, that's not 1 tael. It's only 200 coppers. The waiter smiled and said to me, pushing over a small wooden tray. I took out 200 coins from my pouch and placed them on the tray, and the waiter quickly handed me a wooden token. Wasn't that like cheaper than Mansui's shoes? I kind of forgot. I remember her shoes were pretty expensive for Liang.
2階の3つ目の部屋です。上がればすぐに目に入りますよ。
Third room upstairs. Did I miss something? Nah, wooden token. I took the wooden token from the waiter. Let's go. I gestured for Mansui to follow me upstairs. Suddenly, Mansui stopped me. She approached the waiter's counter and popped her head up. Hello.
聞きたいことというのは?
The innkeeper looked at Mansui, a smile forming on his face. He seemed amused by being called Mr. Waiter.
小僧さん、よそから来た私たちが落葉を見て歩くとしたら、どこがいいかしら?
お嬢さん、よくぞ聞いてくれました。私は生まれも育ちも落葉で、何でも知ってます。
Oh, fireworks.
花が好きなら西南にある花園。川が好きなら東の天河がいいでしょう。
I am kind of questioning Mansui's her experience in Luoyang before, because she said I don't remember whether or not Luoyang was a place where she the city that she went to with her father to play shadow play, but when she was describing Luoyang to Liang, a lot of details didn't match up, notably the river. She's like, I remember there being a lake or something. He's like, wait, that doesn't make sense. So maybe she's never actually been to Luoyang, but she's kind of bullshitting her way through. Maybe. I mean, we already know she's lying to Liang a whole bunch, so.
賑やかな場所が好きなら、霊慶門のあたりがいい。いろんな店がありますよ。あ、思い出した。 ちょうどいい時に来ました。
A special
今日は
temple?
特別な日で、夜には廟会があります。
Temple fair?
ええ、王様にめでたいことがあるそうで、特別に夜市の開催が許可されたんです。
Oh great, I love the Lord. Yay.
今回の夜市は劇団の歌や芝居だけでなく、花火もあるそうですよ。
Fireworks! Fireworks! Do you like fireworks? I don't know why, when I think of fireworks, I always remember that one line from AI the Somnium Files, because that one dude kept saying, "Do you like fireworks?" We fell silent. We ignored the waiter's talk of the temple fair and night market, the fireworks and theater performances. Our focus was on the one behind it all. Yeah, the Lord, the one running the fair. He was a swine demon.
両様、トンヨウはどうして廟会を開催するの？
I don't know. I guess it's for his birthday celebration. You lot, those lambs were originally meant as offerings for his birthday. Oh, I completely forgot about that. Oh, yeah, I completely forgot. Wow, it's my birthday, so everyone in this place should celebrate it because I am awesome. But you never know. It could also be some other happy occasion that's got him in a mood to share joy with the people. Those rich and noble ones, they've always been whipping up whatever happy events, who knows. I chuckled lightly, mocking the vast differences between people's lives.
両様、トンヨウは廟会に来るのでしょうか？
Time to kill him? Nah, he's too full of himself and too cautious. Doubt he'll bother. And even if he does, there isn't much you can do. When the swine demon moves, he's always got tough guards around him. I can't handle them, let alone you. Didn't I tell you already? Forget about seeking revenge. You're not dealing with some small-time landlord. It's the powerful swine demon lord. Demon lord! You, trying to go after him. It won't work. You're just throwing your life away. I threw in a word to Mansui again. After that, we fell silent. We wandered the streets for a while, aimlessly just walking around. If you want to go, we'll check out the temple fair tonight. I'm not up for anything else today. You got any places in mind you want to see? After a while, I asked her. We had a couple of hours until sunset, and the temple fair is beginning, so we need to find somewhere to kill time.
トンヨウの王府に行きたい。
Gotta scout out the place, man. She looked at me with a wink, making the suggestion. You're still not giving up on her revenge, huh? Trying to case the joint? I frowned, giving her a glare. How stubborn can this lass be?
違います。よく考えたら、両様の言うことも一理あると思います。私は体も弱いし、力もないし、トンヨウの暗殺なんてできない。
You probably shouldn't be saying this out loud in the open.
こないだ、家族も夢に出てきて言ったの。復讐しなくていいって。
Family stopped talking to her in her dreams, but it's stopping her from telling her to kill Liang instead, I'm sure.
ただ知りたかっただけ。
Because he's becoming a better
トン
person.
ヨウが住んでるところに行って、自分の目でどんな暮らしをしてるのか
The enemy's digs.
見たいだけ。
The lass bowed her head, mumbling to me. It looked like she wrestled with herself before speaking up. That's fine. Giving up on revenge is fine. I'll take her to see then. Alright. Good that you figured it out not to seek out revenge, but you're quite gutsy. Wasn't it him who took your sister before? He always likes your type. Aren't you afraid of his men, that his men might spot you up and take you back to his palace?
大丈夫です。両様が守ってくれるから、何も怖くない。
Mansui looked up, smiling at me. Her words warmed my heart. Okay, I'll take you, but you hold my hand the whole way there. I sighed, planning to show her around outside the swine demon's palace. Oh, cool, we got like a traditional Chinese gate. While in the capital, I glimpsed the imperial palace. The swine demon's mansion, almost a match for it. Extending from the town front street in the east to the cross street in the west, from the courthouse temple in the north to the lotus temple in the south. The walls, half as tall as Loyan city walls, enclosing it like an iron fortress. Its gate, a vermilion entrance flanked by two stone lions. One lion male, the other female, carved from white marble, standing tall and fierce. I can't tell the differences between genders of animals, to be honest. Those lions, crafted so fine, they'll keep their color for ages. I mean, their color is white.
豪勢なお屋敷に住んでるんですね。
Monsui held my hand, gazing at the stone lions by the entrance. Yeah, it's almost as impressive as the Imperial Palace in the capital.
両様、食料はどれだけあると思います？
The answer is yes. Not sure, but I heard that he owns half the fields in the Central Plains, with his people also collecting grains from nearby Shan and Jin. I replied casually. Let's finish up and move on. We can check out other places later. I called Monsui and took her hand, walking away. This place felt heavy. Just standing at the gate, I could imagine the fun he had inside those tall walls and the kids he slaughtered. I didn't want to stick around. Back here, okay. As dusk approached, Monsui and I wandered aimlessly around. We visited some temples and the Drum Tower. As we explored more of Luoyang, the streets grew emptier and our destination more remote. Our conversations faded as we walked, but the streets started bustling again. Bussin', yeah! People were heading west and we followed the crowd. The sun set behind the city walls. Okay, so sun's gonna set, so after a few more hours they're probably gonna have fireworks. And we transitioned from daylight to dusk, and finally into night. Come on, actually go to nighttime? Yeah! The market to the west lit up with lanterns. Vendors set up their stalls, actors put up their stages. We walked a bit more. Vendors hawked their goods, actors performed on stage. Down below, merchants sold fabrics, makeup, iron tools. On stage, actors' faces were painted white, red, and black. People bustling about. Damn it. I keep doing it. People bustled about, chatting, pausing, buying goods, watching plays. Most people at the fair came with their kins and pals, all cozy and close. They strolled hand in hand, chatting and laughing like peas in a pod. Though Monsui and I were also hand in hand, there was a gap between us and them. Their merry chatter seemed far away, like it was on one side of a lantern light while we were on the other. We were rootless wanderers. In such a lively place, we seemed like strangers, out of place. So, without a word, we veered away from the hubbub into the quiet. As we walked on, the din faded into the buzz of insects, a solitary sound. We're by like a dock or the Chan River. Okay, we walked from the temple fair into the west to the Chan River in the east. Monsui crouched by the river, dipping her hand in the cold water. The breeze blew past, and the fallen petals rustled down, then drifted along the dark river. The petals spun like boats set adrift. She reached out her hand, her fingers wandering in the water, and the boat slipped through the gaps in her fingers and drifted off further down the river. She watched the petals drifting into the distance, lost in thought. Are you playing in the water? After watching her for a while, unable to figure out what she was doing, I awkwardly started a conversation.
いや、父のことを思い出していました。
You used to think about your sister the most, didn't you? How come you're thinking about your dad now?
落葉に着いたら、父のことを思い出すようになった。
The only person in my family that actually freaking loved me. I asked. She answered. I wondered if it's just my imagination. Since arriving in Luoyang, this last seems to have something in her mind, becoming much quieter. Could it be that she's disappointed with Luoyang? Before coming here, she thought Luoyang was bustling. But now that she's here, she seems to think that this big city wasn't all that, and even though the temple fair was lively, she felt out of place.
亮様、一つ聞きたいことがある。
Just as I was guessing her thoughts, she suddenly asked me, Yes?
もし亮様の旧敵が、ある日、善人になって、二度と人を殺さなくなったとしたら。
Well, yeah, this defines her situation right now.
それでも、復讐をすべきか。
He's like, man, that swine demon got a lot better? Huh? I don't know about that. Monsui didn't look at me. She dipped her hand in the river and asked me quietly. That's what the lass was thinking about. Kids, always seeing things so simply. So, the swine demon threw a temple fair today, shared a quick good time with the people, and now she doesn't seem as an enemy anymore? Bad guys stay bad. It's hard to change. Even if that swine demon's throwing a temple fair today, seeing people laughing and joking around doesn't mean that he's a good person. After all, there are more people he's killed, more families he's ruined. All stuff you aren't seeing here. Plus, even if a bad guy turns over a new leaf, they can't just wipe away their past crimes. If it were me, no matter how much my enemies change, I'd still go after them for revenge. Oh, fuck. yeah. I spoke to Mansui slowly, one word at a time. This time, I, who usually didn't say much, told her a lot. These words were probably all my thoughts. Oh. This is also connecting back to the time when Liang spared that one bandit dude who said, like, I'll do good from now on, please, I swear, just offer me some food. And after saving the dude, he just started doing more crimes, killed more people, and it was just, continue to be greedy. But he's probably thinking of that, where it's like, yeah, people can't change that easily, even if they say they will. And even if they do show some change, it might not stick. These words were probably all my thoughts. For many years, I pondered the same question. If my parents didn't die from a natural disaster, but because of someone's wrongdoing, would I seek revenge? I think I probably would. If my enemy was a specific person and not just an act of heaven, I'd have a clear target, thinking all day about killing them. Then I wouldn't have been haunted by the nightmare of that day for so many years, fearing it repeatedly, even scared of the sight of fire. Oh, speaking of fire, didn't the waiter say that there would be fireworks over Loyan tonight? How come we haven't seen them yet? It's getting late now. Surprised they didn't light up the sky with the fireworks yet. Let's head back to the inn. Curfew hits soon. Time to call it a night. I told Mansui. She nodded, stood up, reached out her hand, wanting to hold mine. Oh fuck, that scared me. Just then, a voice rang out behind us. I glanced at the noise source. Ooh. Two raggedy beggars stood near the dark riverbank. This guy's got I guess he's got a knife, but we got a bigger, more effective knife. They wore shabby clothes, their face grimy with coal dust. Both had crooked teeth in their half-open mouths. One brandished a notch cleaver, and the other a wooden stick. One had a squint, and the other blinked frequently. Skinny and short, they didn't seem too tough as robbers.
Oi! 何ぼーっとしてる金を出せと言ったのか聞こえなかったのか早くしろそう、兄貴の出りで金がなければ食い物でもいい
You mugging the city? Aren't you scared I'll fetch the soldiers? I gave them a scornful look. These scrawny two didn't seem to grasp our situation. I might not even have to unsheath my blade. Might as well have a chat, see what they're all about.
役人見つかるもんかみんな病院に行ってるんだこの近くにいるわけがない見つかるもんかみんなお腹痛い
The two beggars moved closer to me, looking tough. And what if I say no?
人数はこっちが多いやられるところを娘に見られたくなかったら金をよこせ食い物をよこせ
The squinting beggar raised his voice, almost shouting at me. So this is the squinting one because his eyes are formed that way, and this guy's isn't. So this guy's probably the blinking one. It seems like the squinting one is the one with, I guess, the one wearing the pants here. But I think it's kind of funny because I think the knife is a more effective weapon. Only the two of you, and you call it a crowd. They sneered again. Never mind. He is the squinting beggar. Let's go, bro. The squinting beggar, fed up with my teasing, finally got mad. He lunged at me with his battered knife, while the other one hesitated for a moment before also charging at me from the side. I scoffed. Stepping back with my left foot, I opened some space. The squinting beggar, unable to stop in time, rushed past me. I lifted my foot, kicked him in the rear with a quick motion. Ugh. My kick knocked him off balance, sending him tumbling to the ground in a heap. Oh, he doesn't have a stick no more. The stuttering beggar tightened his expression and charged towards me from the side. Despite holding a stick moments ago, he now dropped it on the ground and attempted to reach out to grab me. I raised my hand, holding the sheath of my blade. First I dodged his lunge, then I tapped him on the back with the sheath. With a thud, he also fell to the ground, collapsing alongside his brother. The two of them laid piled on top of each other, one clutching his rear, the other on his back, grimacing and groaning. Seriously, you two think you can rob with those moves? I scoffed, my foot pressing down on the fallen duo.
交換もうしません二度としません許してくれないか
Whoa, who could have seen this coming? Oh, shock. The two beggars huddled together, cowering. I wonder how they even had the guts to attempt a robbery with such a cowardly behavior. Say sorry and you're off? Not happening. With the soldiers busy at the temple fair and no one around, if I kill you here, who will know? I sneered, and I pretended to reach for my blade as I talked. Honestly, it was obvious that these two weren't out to kill me from the get-go, so I wasn't planning to off them either. Maybe it was time to scare them, teach them a lesson.
おじさんを殺さないで。お父さんを殺さないで。
Out of nowhere, I heard a girl crying out. I halted my blade, turning to see who it was. A young girl appeared from the shadow of the nearby trees. She seemed about the same age as Kui maybe 5 or 6 years old. This girl was thin, with half her face smeared with soot, her hair all messy, and she wore a patched-up coarse-hemmed garment. But her eyes were strikingly clear. She stared at me with big round eyes, a mix of fear, anger, and frustration, evident in her gaze.
悪者。お父さんとおじさんを踏みつけるなんて。私がやっつけてやる。やっつけてやる。
Well, she grabbed the stick her uncle left behind and swung it at my leg. Her lack of strength only made it flop against my leg harmlessly, like a drunk tottering around. I kept quiet, watching her stern face. She swung the stick clumsily, crying. Tears rolled down her dirty, cold-stained cheeks like little pearls.
ジジイやめろ交換を叩くな交換どうかお助けをジジイはまだガキなんです勘弁してやってください
I was kind of wondering what the point of the scene is, but it's to basically show Liang that he's stuck to a code of killing adult men because he doesn't want to kill children or women. But he's gonna see like killing the adult men could still lead to the other people, such as the children and women of the family, to suffer like consequences. Basically, what he's done to Mansui. He had no qualms about killing Mansui's father, but he's gonna see like, oh, this will affect the kids as well, and it has affected Mansui. I think that's the point of the scene. The squinting beggar, seeing his daughter hitting me repeatedly, seemed worried that I might retaliate against the girl, and started pleading with me. Seeing them in this state, I felt a strange sense of guilt, as if I were the robber and they were the ones being robbed.
両様。
Mansui stood nearby, signaling me with her eyes. She probably hoped I let these beggars go. Seeing those two foolish beggars with a little girl to care for, my anger faded, and I felt like I could let them go. But is this just about letting them go? Or is there something else I need to do? Offer them money or give them a scolding? Honestly, I don't know if offering them money is a good choice, because the thing is, it might help their situation now, but it's not gonna really solve anything. I'm not sure. I think maybe offering them money is the best long-term choice, so I'll give them a scolding. Stop it. I spoke up to stop the girl, and at the same time, I stopped stepping on the beggar lying on the ground. I'm not gonna kill your dad and uncle, so you don't need to hit me either. I grabbed the girl's stick and said to her. The girl stopped hitting me. She dropped the stick and looked at me all sad, like I was the one who had been whacking her with it.
本当に殺さない。
Nope. I said it. I stick to it. I said quietly, get up. I reckon I didn't beat you too hard. After talking to the girl, I turned to the two beggars lying on the ground. The two leaned on each other, slowly rising from the ground. They seemed rattled, lips trembling. Hesitant to stand fully, they cautiously assessed my intentions and stooped over. I'll spare you this time, for the sake of the girl. But using your hands for such deeds will corrupt your girl sooner or later. If I catch you again, whether she's around or not, I'll beat you senseless and hand you over to the government. I warned them coldly. Dealing with these robbers, only this kind of warning works. Though when I said these words, I felt a bit uneasy. After all, I'm a bandit myself, yet here I am, acting like I'll send them straight to the government. Quite ironic.
許してくれ二度としません
He cowered as I scolded him sternly, promising to mend his ways. Seems like they won't dare after this. Alright, I want to load up the other one. I really am not sure what offering them money will do. Stop it. Okay, I'm not gonna kill your dad. Okay, so he's gonna... he's gonna offer them money this time. Get up. Why are you two robbing anyway? I asked... Okay, dude, that's an obvious question because they have none. I asked as I helped the two beggars up. The two just pulled up me, were still a bit shaken. Didn't react right away. Got hands and feet. Why not work for a living? I asked again, a hint of impatience in my tone.
旦那、交換の旦那、仕事を探しても見つからないんです。
Employment is really difficult to find even in our modern age.
俺も弟も生まれつき醜く、弟は喋りもうまくない。2年前に景気が良かった頃は仕事も見つかったが、今は店もたくさん閉まって働く場所もない。うちのやつは何ヶ月も病に伏せて治す金もない。あいつが死んだら父は母親を失ってしまう。ここ何ヶ月も治療はおろか飯を食う金もない。だから物乞いを。でもどうにもならない。今はみんな貧しくいくらももらえない。
Those are very realistic reasons.
今日は西で病営がある。俺たちはつい出来心で夜の見回りがいない間に追いはぎをしようと思ったんだ。交換様、もう腹が減って目が回りそうだ。それであんなことを。申し訳ございません。
The squinter beggar told me his whole story. I watched the girl next to him closely, and when he talked about her mother, her eyes seemed to lose some spark. Judging by their poor robbery skills, they didn't seem like regular thieves. Ah, so this is like a one-time thing because they were so desperate. They must be truly starving to even think about robbing during the fair. Hungry? I asked the beggar girl. She whispered to me. I listened to her, reaching into my bundle. The squinting beggar beside us kept a close eye on me, his scared gaze glued to my every move. I understood his concern. He was likely afraid that I'd suddenly pull out a blade to harm the girl. After searching through my bundle for a while, I found a handful of silver pieces. Here, take these silver. 3 taels. Tomorrow, go to the market, get yourself some food. We'll keep you going for a few months.
それは、受け取れません。
Take it. It's not for you. It's for the girl. I fought her father and uncle right in front of her. Consider this silver as an apology. I stepped up and slit the silver into a beggar girl's hand. She glanced down, checking out the silver. Then she looked up, her big eyes locking onto me. I flashed a quick grin. Yeah, trying to be friendly. Seeing my smile, tears filled her eyes. Man, I'm like wondering if someone like that were to have been there for Matsui, how different the story would have been. She bit her lip, kept her head down, and took the silver. I caught her quiet thanks, feeling a bit warmer inside. After that, Matsui and I said goodbye to the beggar family. We walked by the river, through the dark, dirty alleys of Loyan. Many people were in rag clothes, wrapped up in hay, sleeping on the sides of the road. They were sprawled out or curled up, even some lying face down, not making a peep. Most of them were alone, but few were huddled with their families, keeping warm together. They seemed more likely to be alive and sleeping than others. It was hard to tell if they were asleep or dead. If they were asleep, they might not be far from death. If they were dead, at least they were resting peacefully. The vermilion gates reeked of meat and wine. By the roadside, the starved and frozen lie. I heard the saying from somewhere. Now thinking about it, it fits Loyan to a T. In the city, some get more grain than they can gobble, and they're so stuffed that they turn to eating little girls alive. Yet others go hungry, starving to death right on the streets. Is this the intended way of the world? After all the disasters, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Is this how the world is supposed to be? I reckon I've really changed. A few months back, I wouldn't even think twice about this. Back then, in this world of chaos, all I cared about was staying alive. I'll do whatever it took to survive, even if it meant sacrificing others. Except for not killing women and kids, I almost had no limits. But now, after killing Tong and selling those little girls, it's tough for me to go back to the killing trade. When it comes to killing someone, maybe I'll feel a twinge of mercy. Because you know, the ones I off might be somebody's father or son. What made me change? Was it this journey of a mere month? Was it those lambs? Was it the shadow play? Or was it her? I couldn't help glancing over at Mansui beside me. Alas, I called out. She kept walking quietly, lost in her own
どう
world.
したのですか、亮様。
She raised her eyes, looking at me with confusion. I don't know why. She's like, I don't know. Do I kill him? He even told me that I should hold my revenge. Maybe it's just me, but it seems like her eyes were red. Was this last thinking about something? I thought about it. I'm not selling you. I said to her, each word deliberate.
私を売らないって。
She seemed to struggle to believe what I was saying. She tilted her head slightly, looking at me with confusion. Yeah, I'm not selling you. I thought about it, but selling you won't fetch much. He's being all tsundere about it too. How about this? You stick with me from now on, and we'll head south together till we get to... Oh, the fireworks! You can see them now. Bam! All of a sudden, I heard a huge bang. It cut me off mid-sentence. Damn you fireworks! Let me finish my sentence! Fireworks shot up into the night sky, bursting against the black backdrop of the night. Red, yellow, purple lights all mixed together, blooming like chrysanthemums. My heart raced for a moment. The burst of fireworks caught me off guard. For a moment, I pictured the explosion back in the capital. No! Blood rains, buildings falling, countless souls lost in an instant. But it didn't last. Soon enough, I shook it off and came back to reality.
いけない。
Aww. She's like, I can't go with you. Just as I was caught off guard by the sudden fireworks, Mansui suddenly spoke up. No? Okay, this is the full image. That's probably her response to my earlier idea. I suggested to her that I wouldn't sell her anymore, but instead I wanted to head south with her. Though I hadn't really figured out what to do with her after that. Would we make a living together doing shadow plays, or would I find her a good future with some prosperous southern place? I didn't know, and I was a bit lost about the future. But I didn't expect this last to say no outright. Why not? I asked, taken aback.
私。
She's crying, so... is she going to say she lied to Liang and explain to him her situation? Or is she going to... I actually don't know. Bam. She was about to talk when another firework popped into the night sky. The noise from the fireworks was so loud that it drowned out her words. Damn, annoying! I felt a bit irritated towards these fireworks I've been waiting so long for. What did you say just now? I raised my voice, asking her loud and clear. She turned to me and looked at me.
亮様、用を足してくるから。ここで待ってて。
Oh, she's gonna leave. Huh. She lifted her head and spoke slowly. At this hour? Alright, hurry up. I glanced around, unsure of where the outhouse was, but she probably wouldn't mind. Bam! Another firework burst into the sky. The fireworks painted the whole Luoyang in dazzling colors, truly beautiful. But the loud noise made it impossible to talk normally. Annoying. Got some things to say. I'll chat with her later. Nah, she leaves. After I agreed to help her let her go pee, Mansui bolted off. Funny thing, worrying about not getting to talk to her made me realize that I wasn't afraid of fireworks anymore. The image of that big explosion from years ago, which had briefly flashed in my mind just now, didn't come back. Seems like I've finally shaken off that old nightmare. After waiting a bit longer, memories of what happened about 20 days ago crept into my mind. The day we left Huazhou and we were wandering around Mount Huashan. That night, she said she needs to go pee too. I turned away and she tried to stab me with the dagger. That lass could be ruthless. She was kind to those little girls and even showed pity to the beggars that we just encountered. So why was she so quick to try and kill me? Why it's taking so long? Ooh, I do wonder if Liang will figure it out, because I originally figured that out because of like meta storytelling perspectives, but it later got confirmed with Monsui's basically her backstory, but I don't know if Liang himself has the thought process or enough information to deduce that he killed her father. About an instant of time has passed. The fireworks ended, but Monsui still hadn't come back. Puzzled, I stepped out onto the streets. Lass? I walked out of the alley, crossed the river, and arrived at the dense bushes. She wasn't there. Didn't seem like she went to go pee here. Monsui? I pushed through the bushes, past a few houses, and checked a couple of outhouses. Still no signs of her. Where are you? I went back the way we came, looking around as I went. Am I on somewhere in the... Okay, I wasn't sure if I actually made it to one of these yet. I still couldn't find her. She's gone. Really gone. Just like when the fireworks went off, she tricked me again. The lass acted like she needed to pee, then vanished. Fell for it again. This time, she didn't try to stab me. She just disappeared into the Loyan fireworks. Oh, fuck. Sweet, chapter 5. To be alive. Yeah.
Suiji?
I can still hear my mom. Yay. Oh, fuck, man. Okay. I don't know what affinity I have. I assumed I got high because I don't think I made all the right choices, but I feel like I made a lot of choices that would be friendly towards Monsui. Amidst the darkness, I heard Mom's voice. I opened my eyes. Mom was leaning against my bed while grabbing my sweaty arms. She furrowed her brows with a worried look. I had a nightmare. Because of the dream I just had, I woke up drenched in cold sweat and my head was buzzing. I reached out and touched my face, feeling two streaks of tears on it. I must have cried in my sleep.
水地、よく眠ってたのに、どうして泣いてたの?
Oh my god, her mom has no face!
お母さん、悪夢を見たの。
悪夢?
I recounted the dream I had to my mother, my voice trembling and choked with sobs. The dream was really scary. In my dream, our family experienced a great calamity, and none of us had anything to eat. Dad went somewhere far to sell the family heirloom in exchange for some food, but he never came back. And sometime after that, my brother died. Mom went mad as well and cooked my brother's flesh. I thought my mom was gonna kill me, so I went out to find some wild grass for her to eat. And when I returned, I found out that Mom had hung herself.
やめなさい。
Bad luck. Don't bring the bad juju here.
水地、縁起でもないことを言わないの。後でお父さんに聞かれたら殴られるわよ。
Bad juju, go away. I described my dream to my mom, and the more she listened, the angrier she got. She thought out the dream I described was ominous and made a gesture as if she was gonna hit me.
お父さんはいつ帰ってくるの?
I squinted my eyes while I dodged my mom's fake move and asked about Dad. I really wanted to see Dad. I was worried that something might happen to him like it did in my dream.
Seiji!
Oh, Dad has no face too. At this moment, I suddenly heard my dad shout. Dad stepped into the door, carrying a huge bag on his back with a warm smile on his face. I immediately got out of bed, dashed over, and hugged my dad's thigh.
Seiji, tadaima.
Daddy's back. Dad smiled and stroked my head.
どう? 家宝は売った? いくらで売れた?
Mom asked Dad somewhat eagerly, wanting to know how much he sold the family heirloom for.
売らなかった。
Dad gave her a hearty laugh.
どうして売らなかったの?
この家宝には値段がつけられないからな。これがあればずっと食べていける。売るわけにはいかん。
Dad spoke with a smile, joyfully glancing at the bag behind him. I mean, unless this thing literally produces food, I don't think they're gonna have food. He put the bag on the bed and took the family heirloom out from it. The family heirloom was a piece of grayish white meat with concentric ring patterns on it. I really don't know what this is. It wriggled slowly as if it was alive.
おやおや、お前、やっと家宝の使い道に気づいたのね。
Grandma suddenly popped out of nowhere, praising Dad in a mysterious manner.
お父さん、どうしてこれでずっと食べていけるの？
My brother asked my dad curiously as he held onto my dad's other thigh. Grandma and my brother appeared all of a sudden. I wasn't sure where they were hiding before. I actually didn't see them at all.
はあ、話せば長くなる。実はな、この家宝を売るつもりだったんだ。だが家を出て最初の夜、これを抱いて眠っていると神様の声が聞こえた。この家宝は神様が落とした新鮮肉だという。優しい神様は我が家を救うため、この肉の使い方を教えてくれた。
That's right, it's the meat of the deity. We are eating God. I don't know if that's a good thing.
この肉を水に入れて煮込んだらどんどん大きくなるんだよ。食べれば食べるほど増えるんだ。絶対に食べきれないって。
Dad excitedly shared with us, his eyes gleaming with joy.
ってこと。じゃあ早速煮込んでみましょう。炊事、薪を集めて。
If only it were like that. If only everyone else had faces. When she heard it, Mom also shared Dad's joy. She quickly urged me to go chop some wood. Seeing them like that, I also felt overjoyed. However, I was also a bit worried. Even if the deity allowed us to eat its meat, is it still fine to eat it? Nothing would happen to us, right? What exactly does deity meat taste like? With a curious mindset, I gathered dry firewood in the corner of the house.
お姉ちゃん、これで薪を割って。
My brother handed me a knife. Knife didn't look like it was used to chop wood. Instead, it looked like a cleaver for chopping meat.
薪を割るナタは？ない。これしかないよ。
My brother looked at me and smiled, revealing his canines. He must have been playing mean intentionally and making it hard for me to chop wood. That was why he gave me this cleaver instead. But whatever, I didn't want to scold him. I took the cleaver anyway. It would be used to chop wood if I exerted more force. Ger-conk, ger-conk, ger-conk. I swung the cleaver in my hand, chopping the firewood. Every time I chopped a piece of wood, my brother would throw it into the stove. As I chopped the wood, I stole glances at Dad beside me. Dad was making a fire nearby, preparing to cook the deity meat in the pot. He chatted here and there with Mom and speculated about how the deity meat would taste. After a long while, I worked so hard that my clothes were drenched in sweat, but I finally chopped all the
お
wood.
父さん、この新鮮肉、本当に茹でると増えるの？
I threw the last piece of firewood under the pot and then asked Dad
増
skeptically.
えるとも。疑うなら見てみるがいい。
Dad smiled while he spoke and made a gesture for me to come and see. I wiped off the sweat from my forehead and threw away the cleaver, and then leaned over the pot to check it out. Oh my god, that's a lot of meat! The pot was boiling and the broth simmering, the deity meat bobbing up and down. I kept staring at it. Initially, I didn't notice much meat, but gradually, the deity meat was cooked and actually multiplied into a bunch of pork. Yes, look at all these smiles from everyone else that doesn't have faces. I shouted happily. I was drooling non-stop while looking at the cooked pork.
本当に増えた！
肉が出てきたわ。早く食べましょう。
Hurry and get some bowls. Let's get it. It's a meat festival. Mom and my brother talked while gathered around the pot. Dad then grabbed a bowl to serve the meat to us.
さあ、炊事に一つ、財事にも一つ、蓮雲にも一つ、お母さんにも一つ。
Dad kept serving us meat, dividing it among the bowls. He actually gave it to Monsweet first. Aww. I thought the mom was gonna be like, no, the boy gets it first. I took the bowl Dad handed to me and started eating the meat. I took a bite from the meat born from the deity meat. The meat looked and smelled like pork, but it tasted a bit different. The meat was tougher, making it difficult to bite into. But I was too hungry, and it had been so long since I had meat, so I took a huge chunk. Only after the meat went down my stomach and I got the aftertaste of it did I realize that there was a sour taste to it. So sour and so gamey. The smell of meat born from the deity meat reminded me of the kitten's meat that we cooked at home not too long ago. I wonder if it's like human. Although I didn't eat it, I remember the smell by heart. No, kitten, no, get away! Huh? Suddenly, I heard the kitten meowing. The kitten I had once had suddenly came up to my feet and started meowing to me. She rubbed her head against me in a joyful manner, then sat down, wagged her tail, and licked her paw. Ah, I must have remembered wrong. It turned out that we never actually ate the kitten. Oh my gosh, she's like...
お肉おいしい？まあ、なかなかおいしい。
水児、こっちの生肉も食べなさい。試しに食べてみた
A
ら、
raw
茹で
one.
肉よりも美味しいわ。
My brother and mother handed me pieces of meat one after another. My brother gave me cooked meat while my mother gave me raw meat. I'd already tried the cooked meat, and by now I think I had a bit too much of it. So I became interested in the raw meat and stared at the pieces that my mother had.
お母さん、この肉はどうしたの？
Oh, young girl, this came from your brother.
あなたが薪割りをしている間に、新鮮肉を切ったら生えてきたのよ。
え？お父さんは鍋で煮込んだら肉が増えるって言ったはずよ。
我が家は運がいいからな。神様からのご褒美だ。
Yeah, our family's very fortunate, yeah. Dad explained to me while smiling. Upon hearing my dad's words, I felt relieved of any suspicion and became even happier. So I moved closer to Mom and started nibbling on the pieces of raw meat she handed me. The raw meat cradled in my mother's palm was pink. I was like a greedy kitten, burying my head in her hands and biting it directly into the meat as she handed me. It was a bit hard to bite into. However, it was really delicious. Mom was right. Meat from the deity meat didn't necessarily have to be cooked. It was delicious raw, too. Eating it raw allowed me to fully appreciate the meat's flavor. As I chewed, I could feel the taste of blood surging to my head, bringing waves of exhilaration. I quickly devoured the meat. I was scared to starve again, so I kept eating, not daring to stop for a second. Every time I finished a piece, Mom passed me a new one. It seemed we indeed didn't have to worry about being hungry.
水児、ゆっくり食べていいのよ。慌てないで。
I know it's a dream, and she's happy for a little bit, but fuck. Mom saw how I devoured the meat and laughed softly. Dad, Grandma, and the kitten also laughed. I didn't respond to them and just buried myself in the meat as I kept eating. I was really starving. I needed to keep eating non-stop. However, after I dug in for a little while, I noticed something unusual. It was a human? Its hair.
お母さん。
どうしたの？
I spat the thing I just... I spat out the thing I just ate. Oh god. It turned into hair. It was strands of dark fiber on my hand, and I picked up some to examine them closely. I thought they were wild grass at first, but then upon the closer inspection, they startled
お
me.
母さん、なんかおかしい。
Did she start eating her mother in her dream?
何がおかしいの？
この新鮮肉、どうしてお母さんの髪の毛が生えてるの？
fuck. With teary eyes, I asked Mom in a trembling voice. After I asked that question, it seemed like my mom froze in place. Her once gentle smile became stiff, and she remained motionless like a statue. Dad, Grandma, my little brother, and even the kitten, who were all laughing moments ago, stopped moving, as though they became a painting. I was living in a painting, though only one capable of moving. I screamed in horror and raised my hand to tear apart the canvas that stood before me. The shadows swirled around me as my fantasy quickly shattered and crumbled. It was all a lie. There was no one else. Oh god, she's rotting. I think that's her mother. And oh, the thing she was cooking, which is, you know, her brother, is also rotting. You see all the maggots and flies around. I sat alone in the empty house. I held the... Wait, is this... Oh no, this is Monsui. Shit. Oh god. I held the cleaver in my left hand and a lump of flesh in my right. I froze in place, motionless. Oh, I think she ate her mother. Shit. Thick blood oozed through the gaps in my palm, dripping onto the floor with a steady rhythm. Flies came buzzing around, sickening me. The pungent smell of blood filled the room, saturating every breath. Darkness crept up my arms, little by little, consuming every inch of my skin. I wasn't hungry anymore. Exhaustion, weakness, and the sensation of skin covering my hands disappeared, but in their place was a more unpleasant discomfort. Yeah, she didn't realize it, but she ended up eating her mother. Ah, like this. Oh my god. I retched, unsure if it was due to nausea or sorrow. I tried hard to vomit. I wanted to puke something out, but my efforts were in vain. Perhaps my stomach knew what I needed better than my brain. It wouldn't let me puke anything out that would keep me alive. Mom, little bro, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was so hungry I couldn't tell. Sorry, I didn't mean to do it. You won't blame me, right? Say something. Anything. Say something. Early in the morning, I stepped out of the house, leaving bloody footprints. I stepped on fallen leaves and mud until I reached a cliff about half a mile from home. The wind was cold in the cliff, and below it was pitch black, making it impossible to gauge its depth. The night wind brushed against me, and I felt alive in a way I've never had before. It was the first time I felt such a profound sense of wanting not to be alive. The kitten, Grandma, Dad, my little brother, Mom, they were all gone. It was like a nightmare. I wanted to wake up from that nightmare. So long as I jumped from the cliff, I'd wake up. Just jump. I took a step forward. My eyes were closed, but I stopped with my foot in midair. It's alright, sweetheart. You're not gonna it's alright, sweetheart. You're not going to starve to death. You're going to survive and live a very long life. I wasn't sure why, but when I was about to jump, the words my dad said to me back then echoed in my ears. His voice lingered, making me feel nostalgic. Dad, where exactly did you go? Dad, why didn't you come back? I wasn't sure if Dad was really dead or not. He spoke to me before I was going to jump off the cliff. That made me feel like he might still be alive. If Dad was alive, then I should be too. Then one day, when I find him, I'll tell him all the agony I've gone through. Then we'll continue on living, as long as we have each other. If Dad died, if he was murdered, then I would get revenge for Dad, for my family, for our family. I would kill whoever killed him. No, I must kill that bastard! The next morning, I cut off half my hair with a knife and carried the knife with me. To be able to stay alive longer, I knelt and begged for my family's forgiveness. I then brought parts of my brother and my mom with me in a bag on my back. Finally, I set a fire, burned the house down, and embarked on my journey. I died. The past me starved to death in this house. I was a corpse that died of hunger. I survived. The current me, with the help of my family, had survived and was someone who would move on forward. I needed to be alive. I wasn't staying alive for myself, but for my family members who passed away. I need to find the truth about Dad not coming back. If I couldn't find Dad, or I found out that Dad was already dead, then I must seek revenge for my family and become the retribution for the sworn enemy who murdered my dad. That was the only reason for the dead me to continue on living. Fuck, that was disgusting. Like, I knew that's where it was going, but like, fuck. Oh, yeah, I got high affinity. Inclusion, gone. Ooh, okay. So, I mean, I kind of expected that, but it seems like that's what we're gonna get. It's just, I guess, there's not gonna be any revenge. It seems like Liang's is gonna go to the south, maybe. I don't really know. It's just that, like, it seems like the plot that we were originally going to follow just comes to a halt because neither party really has a goal anymore. The fireworks had finished, and the curfew was approaching in Luoyang. The lights in the city were extinguished one by one. Street vendors were packing up their stalls, discussing how much silver they had earned that day. Soldiers were banging their drums, announcing the curfew before midnight, but pedestrians on the road continued their leisurely strolling. Adults held the children by their hands, and the youth supported the elderly. People in the city walked in pairs or groups, chatting and laughing as they headed home. Beggars gathered together, huddling in the corners. Some were already asleep, while others watched the passerbys returning home, their eyes revealing a hint of envy. I felt out of place amongst the people in the city. I hurriedly navigated through the crowd, walking against the flow of people, searching for the figure I had lost. Monsui was gone. She had mentioned needing to relieve herself during the fireworks, but then she had disappeared. I couldn't understand why she had vanished. Yes, she had indeed run off, but I couldn't fathom why. I wasn't planning on selling her anymore, and I wasn't going to send her off to her death at the hands of the swine demon, nor make her a child bride. So why did she run? Had she encountered some danger, like being abducted? That's a possibility. However, she was always very cautious. It was hard for me to imagine her being kidnapped. I searched through the nearby slums, run-down temples, and under the bridges, encountering many refugees and beggars, but I didn't find her. Where on earth had she gone? It was time for curfew in the city. The streets were deserted. The night watchmen patrolled, banging their drums and repeating the same phrases. It was forbidden to be outside during curfew. If caught by the night watchman, one would face punishment, so I had no choice but to return to the inn first. Well, I'll try looking for her again tomorrow. I've been searching for nearly 2 hours now. I still couldn't find her. She probably wasn't abducted, and even if she were, I shouldn't worry too much. That brat was quite clever. It shouldn't take too long for her to figure out her way out of safety. If she truly wanted to leave on her own, then so be it. Perhaps she just simply didn't want to stay with me anymore. I'll go get some rest first. I lay in my bed, repeating reassuring words over and over in my mind, but I still couldn't fall asleep after a while. I got up, checked the latch on the room door, and made sure my blade was by my side, and then went back to bed. Just sleep. Whatever, I'll figure it out tomorrow. The darkness quickly pulled my consciousness into a slumber. Not long after I fell asleep, my consciousness also slipped into a dream. Oh, it's raining. Oh, we're probably gonna see Matsui in the background again like last time. But she's gonna be like, is she gonna, would she tell the truth in his dream? It wouldn't really make too much sense. Heavy rain poured down in torrents. The sound of the rain was like a continuous stream. It was as if the sky had split open and raindrops cascaded down like beads from the sky. It had been a long time since I had seen such a rain. I was standing on the streets of Luoyang, wearing a straw raincoat and a bamboo hat. This place should have been bussin', but now it was deserted due to the rain. I walked forward aimlessly, trying to find a place to stay, but came across a strange sight. The sides of the road were littered with corpses, all of which were people I had killed. Most had their throats slit, some were missing limbs, and few were cleaved in half, their deaths gruesome beyond imagination. Most of them, they were mostly men. Their eyes and mouths were half open, crawling, pleading, and crying in my direction. Their faces, once forgotten, were now vivid in my memory. Oh, whoops. I used the scroll mouse. I didn't realize I can bring up this thing with the scroll. 1, 2, 3. 10, 20, 30. I can if I scroll up, it brings up this. If I scroll down, it actually precedes this text. I wonder how fast I can go. Oh, I can go real fast. Alright, I just want to double check. 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30. There's so many of them. Their final breaths were very long overdue, but the hushed whispers still escaped their mouths. I could vaguely catch their words. They were cursing me, wishing for my demise. So annoying. So damn annoying. I hastened my pace, dashing through the rain, desperate to leave those people behind and never see them again. During the 2 years when I was fleeing from the famine, I killed people because I had no choice. For each life I took, I saved another. Oh, this is very similar to when Matsui killed him in this other ending. I'm gonna go by this a little bit quick. Now I'm becoming a good person. I did good things. I helped those kids. I'm not a wolf anymore. I'll be a good person from now on. I'll stop killing people. Don't bother me anymore. I kept repeating that in my mind. My steps getting faster. Yeah. So now I'm assuming that Matsui's gonna show up. Matsui. She was standing in front of me. But I don't think she's going to kill him anymore. Her hair matted with water clung to the nape of her neck. Droplets covered her body. Wet clothes clung to her skin. Hey, little brat. I quickly took a few steps forward, trying to approach her. Regardless, the appearance of the little brat still put me at ease. I got closer and reached out to pat her shoulder. She shivered, seeming surprised by my touch, but didn't turn back. Why didn't she turn back to look at me? Suddenly, the rain intensified, pounding down harder than before. If the earlier rainfall was like someone smashing an abacus in the sky, this one was like tearing apart the pearl curtains of heaven. Raindrops fell relentlessly from the sky, threatening to engulf the entire city. What the hell kind of rain is this? I nervously looked around, noticing the water levels rising beneath my feet. Oh, they're both drowning now. Was it like that before? I don't remember that. I just remember her approaching him and stabbing him. The waters passed my ankles, my calves, then my knees, and kept rising. The entire city seemed to be submerged in torrents of the river. Panic washed over me. Hey! I walked up and tried to grab the little brat's hand. She was short after all. It would be easy for her to be submerged by the rapidly surging water levels. However, the instant my hand touched hers, her vigor began to blur gradually. While her body became blurry, she finally turned her head to gaze at me. Her expression seemed to be crying, yet a faint smile tugged her lips. Oh, she's smiling this time. Her eyes were tinged with regret and resentment. Her face wore indifference of disillusionment with life and death. What exactly did you want to say? What exactly did you want to do? We have this version of her now. A version of her that kind of gave up killing Liang, I think. I gazed at her confused. I couldn't understand her expression then, nor grasp what was going on in her mind. I was trying to look at her mouth. It doesn't seem like they drew her mouth. There's a little thing here, but it seems a little bit out of place. She vanished bit by bit, and I want to stop it all. Hey, little brat! Don't disappear! Don't disappear! I shouted at her as loud as I could, but my voice was drowned out by a storm. I called her name over and over again, but it was no use. Eventually, she still vanished. Whoa! I woke up from the dream. I was sitting on the bed in the inn, my back soaked with sweat. What was that dream? I had a dream. A dream about the little brat. What did that dream mean? I didn't really get its meaning. I wiped the sweat from my forehead and scrambled out of bed. I grabbed my blade, packed my belongings, and then headed to the inn's lobby, intending to leave. Glancing out at the people on the street from the inn's lobby, I saw a bustling activity indicating that it was at least mid-morning. How come I got up this late? Let's go find that brat again today. Last night's dream intensified the sense of uneasiness I felt in my heart. At this moment, I simply want to find her immediately.
お客さん、お待ちください。
Huh? The waiter at the inn called out to me when I was about to leave. Did Mansui leave a message? What is it? I furrowed my brow and asked the waiter, feeling a bit confused.
お客さん、昨日の晩、女の子を連れていませんでしたか?
Ah, he remembered because she's like, hey, Mr. Waiter. He's like, oh, that my heart. The waiter asked me carefully. I instantly felt a pang of anxiety. Yeah, I did. What happened? Was she here just now?
ええ。朝の鐘が鳴ってしばらくして来ましたよ。私にお金を押し付け、
Oh, she came
あな
back.
たに渡してほしいものがあると。
What's that? I stared blankly at the waiter. The waiter handed me a small bag. Oh, I know what this is. This is going to be the good luck pouch charm thing that she gave to her father, the one that has the word on it. This is like saying that it's going to explain to Liang why she can't go with him and what her goal was this entire time, especially with the question she asked last night. What if the person you want to take revenge on became a better person, and now he realizes that, yeah, his actions had consequences. Huh? Could it be that she's returning the shoes I gave her? I took a guess and looked at the small bundle. The size of the bundle didn't seem right for shoes. I slowly unwrapped the bundle, and the thing inside caught me by surprise. It was a pouch. The pouch was red, sewn together with patches, yet it looked new, adorned with a pale character on top. Is this? I mumbled to myself while looking at the pouch. A sudden stab of pain shot through my temple. In an instant, the memories I thought I'd forgotten flooded back into my mind. 4 years ago. Oh, this is 4 years ago? I thought this was like close to when our journey started, like a month ago. Though I remember Lian talking about it, but I didn't actually look too carefully how long ago that was. In the last few months of 1682, I encountered a man in the mountains. The man was dressed like a peasant from the northern Shan, wearing a bamboo hat and carrying a bag on his back. He kept going west at a brisk pace. He wiped the sweat off his forehead as he walked, his eyes filled with eager anticipation. Suddenly, I dashed out from the bushes and tackled him to the ground. Without waiting for him to say something, I plunged the dagger into his heart and pressed all my weight on him. He struggled desperately, trying to grab my dagger and get me off of him. At the same time, his eyes were fixed on me, almost on the brink of tears, pleading with fear for me not to kill him. When I killed, I often avoided the gaze of the victim, so I took off his hat and covered his face with it, refusing to look at him. In the end, I pressed his head with the hat in one hand while tightly gripping the dagger and plunged into his heart with the other. He struggled violently for a bit, kicked his legs twice, then went completely still. After he died, I searched his body and found a small red pouch. The pouch was tiny, embroidered with a light-colored character An on it. Maybe her name is actually Ansui, not Mansui, but she just changed it slightly so that Liang wouldn't even think about it. I remember this pouch. I sold this pouch a long time ago. At the time, after killing that man, I carried this pouch with me for more than a year. After a year, since it didn't take on any jobs for 2 months and was a bit strapped for cash, I sold this pouch to a dodgy pawn shop in Huazhou. Before Mansui left, she specifically left this pouch for me. What does she want to tell me? He's gonna remember the words from last night. Did she have anything to do with this pouch? Did she have anything to do with the man back then? Could it be that she's that man's daughter? She and that man indeed looked a bit alike. Plus, if she were really the daughter of that man, then a lot of things would make sense. I stood in shock, carefully sorting through my memories of her. From our first encounter in Huazhou City, I felt that she was different from the other girls and somewhat suspicious. That night we left Huazhou City, she pretended that she wanted to pee so that she could assassinate me. She only softened after her assassination attempt failed. I threw away the blade. She told me about her life story, taught me shadowplay, and learned about my experiences. I became more acquainted with her along the way. As we spent more time together, she subtly changed me. After that, I killed Tung for the girls, trying to secure a better life for them, even though I might not get much money out of it, and I wasn't planning on selling her anymore. Gradually, I transformed into a better person. I no longer desired the life of a bandit and want to start anew. She said a lot of things, but perhaps not much was true. A swine demon killed her sister and destroyed her entire family. These were probably fake. Her age, background, and things she said were probably all fake. The purpose of her approaching me was only to avenge her father. But why didn't she kill me after that? Why did she just leave like that? She told you yesterday. There was indeed a lack of opportunity in the beginning. After all, she rushed into things at the very first day and tried to kill me. I was still very wary of her at the time. I threw away her blade, but kept an eye on her. However, why didn't she try to kill me again after that? While we were staying in the inn in Haizhou, she had an opportunity to steal a kitchen knife. On the wagon to Luoyang, she could have easily killed me while sound asleep, which she did in another ending. Why didn't she kill me? I clenched the pouch tightly. Guilt, fear, confusion, sadness, and bewilderment. Various tumultuous emotions made it difficult for me to find peace. I didn't know what her logic was in doing these things. Why didn't she kill me after all? Why did she leave by herself? Why did she give me this pouch in the end? What exactly did she want? I didn't get it. Besides asking you to give me this thing, did she say anything else? I asked the waiter in a trembling voice, trying to gather more intel to figure out her intent.
何か言ってたか？いえ、何も。
Think hard.
お客さん、本当に何も言ってなかったんですよ。これを渡してくれと言われただけで、他には何も。
I'm kind of afraid because a lot of times in revenge stories, they kind of live their lives for revenge. And when that purpose when they lose their target for revenge, whether or not they've died way prematurely or if they don't want to do it anymore, they no longer really have a purpose for living. And I don't know if Mansui has found one. I nodded, grabbed my luggage, and left without a word. I thought this brat would leave me a message or something, but nope. Why? Actually, I'm her sworn enemy because I murdered her father, but she just left without doing anything? What on earth was the significance of her deed? I had no idea, but still decided to go out and look around. I planned to retrace the steps we took yesterday, ask people who might have seen us, then look for her again. If I could find her, I'd be able to ask her and unravel the unanswered mysteries. Though I had no idea how I was going to face her. Should I apologize or try to explain? I didn't know. First, I went to the market where the temple fair was held yesterday. The market today lacked the vibrancy of last night. Scattered individuals were cleaning the ground, while small vendors were setting up stalls and calling out their wares, with occasional passerbyers pausing briefly. You know, part of me was wondering if, like, because we decided to spare and help those beggars from yesterday. Maybe they'll assist us in finding her. I revisited the riverside where she and I had been yesterday. Yesterday, we had encountered a beggar family with a little girl here, where we got robbed. I looked around, but it didn't seem like the beggar family were there. There was only an elderly man fishing by the riverside, his eyes half closed. While staring at the elderly man and hesitating to ask, a voice sounded from behind me. Oh, it was a girl from yeah. The beggar girl from yesterday came out of nowhere and stood behind me. Huh? It's you. I gave her a quick look and greeted her. You're not hungry today?
もらったお金でターピン買ったからお腹空いてない。
The beggar girl smiled and blinked her eyes. As she spoke, she took out a palm-sized pancake from her pocket and showed it to me.
誰かを探してるの？昨日の女の子？
That's kind of cool. They actually did end up helping out. I do kind of wonder what would happen if I didn't end up giving them money. I might actually go back and try that out. Yeah, I'm looking for her. Have you seen her?
もちろん見たよ。
Oh, you have? When?
昨日あなたと一緒にいた。
That does not help me at all. Ugh. I was initially thrilled when I heard that she had seen Mansui. However, what she meant was I've seen her actually happened yesterday. That left me a bit disappointed.
ああ、それから今日も見たよ。
There we go. Oh, just when I was getting disappointed, the beggar girl mentioned that she had seen her today as well. Today? When?
時間はわからない。朝早くだったかな。川沿いを歩いてた。
By the river. The beggar girl pointed me towards a road. Strictly speaking, this wasn't exactly giving directions. She was pointing out the entire road along the riverbank. Thank you. Needless to say. Nevertheless, I still thanked her and quickly set off. I had a lead. It seemed that little brat had walked along the river. After sneaking away, she didn't leave the city, but instead continued along the river. Wait, why would she walk along the river? Why? I pondered as I walked briskly. Riverbank. River. Did she ever mention anything about a river? Oh! It seemed that she actually did. I don't remember. Suddenly, I remember something she said. My memory's a bit foggy. I was really young back then. My dad took me to Loyan. I remember a river in the city with a lake at the end. I think I got lost back then. Walked along that river, crying, till I reached the lake. That's where I found my dad. Ew, is she gonna jump into the lake? Oh no. While in the wagon, the little brat mentioned that she had been to Loyan before. She said her dad had brought her to Loyan when she was little. At the time, she got lost and found her dad by walking along the river. I felt like her story was probably fabricated. Judging from her fresh and curious demeanor yesterday, it was probably her first time in Loyan. Yeah, that's what I was talking about in the beginning. Why would she make up such a story? I couldn't understand, but I still planned on following her lead. So I walked along the river, intending to find the lake at the end of the river, as she had mentioned. Oh shit, this is kind of beautiful. Yeah, the illustrations in this game are really good. I searched for a long time. I walked for several hours. I didn't eat anything at all, yet I kept walking. From day to dusk, I kept walking. Eventually, when I was about to give up, thinking that there was no lake inside Loyan, I seemed to have found one. The waters of the Chan River flowed to the southeast corner of the city, where there was indeed a small lake. According to the old man who gave me directions earlier, this lake was once a bustling port during the Sui and Tang dynasties, but fell into disuse, and fewer people came here over the time. Nowadays, the lake is not used for navigation. It's just an abandoned lake within the city, serving no purposes. A few years ago, a woman whose chastity had been ruined jumped into this lake. Her body never resurfaced, and since then, the lake seemed haunted, with reports of a woman's crying echoing around. Many people detested the ominous air, so even fewer people came here. As I walked step by step, I checked out the lake before me. The small lake was tinged yellow by the twilight. The inner circle was a dirty marsh. The middle circle was overgrown with weeds, and the outer circle consisted of dilapidated houses, giving it a desolated and bleak ambience. I searched around, but I didn't find Mansui. It seems that she wasn't here. I knew it was a long shot that she would come here. What would she be doing at a place like this lake anyway? Just as I was about to leave, I suddenly noticed something unusual. A few dozen yards away from me, There's a series of shallow footprints pressed into the muddy ground. Oh no, she jumped into the lake. Because she lost her purpose, and that was what she was going to do originally if she couldn't take revenge. The footprints clearly belonged to someone who wasn't wearing shoes. They led all the way to the lakeside. The footprints were very small, about half the size of my hand. They looked like the footprints of that brat. My spirits lifted. After searching for so long, I finally found what seemed to be her trace. So I quickly ran forward and followed the footprints. My feet sank into the mud with each step, bringing up some dirt with my shoes. Step by step, I followed the footprints with difficulty. In the end, I found what she had left behind. It's gonna be the shoes that he got her. I bent my head down to look at what was placed by the lake. For a long moment, I couldn't find the words. Yeah. Fuck, man. I thought a higher affinity would be a better ending, but this is... Oh, this hurts! Shoes. By the lakeside lay a pair of shoes. The shoes were light blue and with pointed tips and bright silver peonies stitched on both sides, looking delicate and small, like two little birds with folded wings. The shoes seemed as if they were painted on the bank, unmoved by the passing breeze. The sides of the shoes were not stained with mud. It appeared that she must have walked here barefooted, carrying her shoes. And then, where did she go? I grew suspicious and continued following the footprints along the bank. The footprints continued onwards, all the way to the lake. There were no return footprints. I froze. Based on the footprints, it seemed that the little brat had headed towards the lake, but there were no traces of her turning back. Did she just keep walking towards the lake until she disappeared into it completely? Why? After that, I never saw her again. I stayed in Loyan City for several days. During those days, I went to the lake every day. I wanted to see if any drowned bodies would surface in the lake, but I never saw of any such corpses. Later, I asked a nearby fisherman and learned that although the lake seemed to be within the city, it's actually connected to the Chan River. If someone jumped into the river here, it'd be difficult to find them. The drowned person would be washed into the Chan River through the outlet of the lake, and then into the Lo River. Once out of the Loyan, they would never be found again. I pondered for many days but still couldn't understand. Why did this little brat leave like that? Why did she give me that pouch at the end? She revealed to me that I was her dad's murderer, but then chose to disappear. It was so inexplicable. Little brat, did you really jump into the river? Did you really die? Why didn't you seek revenge against me and instead choose to die on your own? What in the world was the meaning of this? He's like, I even told you to do it! After that, I continued southward, inquiring about her along the way, but never found any information. From then on, I've been searching for an answer that can never be found. I didn't realize it until many years later. To be gone in such a sudden way, with the result of my never finding an answer, was her revenge on me. The gentlest yet cruelest revenge. Ending. Gone. An abrupt disappearance. It was the gentlest yet cruelest payback. Oh. Chapter 6. Wow, okay, yeah. I was wondering if we were going to get this because, like, here we get, like, the, achieve certain endings, but, I thought this was gonna literally end the chapter. In that case, we might actually get this immediately after that, too. I think I'm gonna try to go through all of it, like, if this appears after this, I think I might do it. Wasn't there something to do with, like, oh, I forgot. Here we need Monsui chapter 7. Yeah, there was no way I would have been able to do this because I don't have Monsui chapter 7. Well, I guess we'll keep going. Tap, tap. I wore a pair of straw sandals, stepping onto the mountain path. It had been several weeks since I had left home. With each step, I was further away. In the past, I would have been scared to be far from home, Now I wasn't afraid of at all, because my home was gone. Anywhere could be my home. I wanted to find out why Dad hadn't come home. I wanted to avenge my deceased family. This thought kept me going and made me get back up and continue forward every time I collapsed from exhaustion. Mom and little brother couldn't accompany me for too long. They were quickly consumed by me. She literally had to eat them. In recent days, when I was starving, I would dig wild roots or eat up tree bark. I had to figure ways to find something to eat to keep myself alive. I recall Dad used to say that I could reach the capital where the Emperor lived if I kept heading east where the sun rises. There were endless food where the Emperor lived, so there would definitely be no famine. As for Grandma, she said the further south you go, the less likely there would be famine. It's so hot in the south, and there is more water there, so people would have a lot of food and rarely worry about going hungry. I thought about what Dad and Grandma said and decided to listen to Grandma first and go south. Once I reach a large town, I plan to ask for directions again, and from there, I might go east or continue south. Perhaps it was because I was alone and kept walking in the mountains. After a long while, I was looking mute since I didn't talk for a while. Oh, that's where she got the idea of being mute. I was scared to go on the main roads because I was scared of bumping into people who were trying to flee or the ghouls. I often chatted with Mom and when Dad first left home for the long trip. She reminded me and my brother that we need to stay away from the ghouls. People who would try to flee from famine and live like ghosts. They were hungry all year round and would eat anything. I had seen ghouls when Dad and I were on our way home from Gangquan, that was where they went. Those people fixed their gazes on me like I was a gold ingot. Back then, I thought they were eyeing me to kidnap me and sell me for cash. But now, I saw things differently. They probably wouldn't have sold me when they kidnapped me. They probably would have cooked me alive and eat me. After walking for a few days, I saw that there was tree bark on the trees around me and grass sprouting from the ground. One night, I discovered an open area in the woods. There were traces of a fire and cooking, indicating that someone had made a fire here before. It was cold at night, and there were even distant sounds of wild animals, so I decided to start a fire and rest here. I picked up some dry firewood nearby and piled them up before I used a flint to make a fire. Grind. I tried many times, ripping my fingers white, but I finally managed to light a small flame. I squatted down next to it, shielding it from the wind for fear that it would be blown out. Before long, a small flame grew bigger and bigger. At first, it was the size of a finger, then the size of a palm, then the size of a head, and finally, I got the fire going. So hungry. What should I eat today? All the trees nearby have tree bark. I could eat some of that. No, better not to. I hadn't been able to find clean water recently. It's been 2 days since I drank water. Eating tree bark without drinking water would accumulate the tree bark in my stomach, and it'd be impossible to get it out. Eventually, I would die from my huge stomach as if I was pregnant. Never mind. I'll see if I can find a river where I can drink from tomorrow. There should be some edible fruits by the river. I laid down and looked at the sparks dancing up and down, hoping that I can dream of finding a river.
Oi! Asoko!
Fuck! The moment I closed my eyes, I heard a shout coming from a distance. It sounded like someone was shouting at the top of his lungs to give directions to someone else. Who was that? I stood up hastily, and only to see someone moving in the distance, running towards me. There were two people. They were running towards me at a fast pace. When I spotted them, they were several dozen steps away from me. However, just when I was about to run, they had already gotten close to me. The bonfire lit up their faces, which startled me. I couldn't tell how old they were, but because they were probably older than Dad and a bit younger than Grandma, I'd probably call them uncles. They were unkempt and hunched over, skin and bones, but with huge stomachs. I could tell from the gleam in their eyes, they're dangerous. I wonder if they have huge stomachs because they were eating tree bark, but couldn't really properly digest it. I couldn't call them uncles. Oh wait, was there a line before that? I could tell from the gleam. Oh, they're dangerous. They were ghouls.
娘だ小娘だそうだ娘だ
One of them grinned at me, revealing a mouth of uneven and yellow teeth, and the other one lunged at me directly and tried to grab a hold of me. They were ghouls. Ghouls that ate kids. Run quickly. I quickly ran into the woods after I got a good look at them. However, even though they were really thin and short, adult strides were still longer than mine. I was thirsty, hungry, and without much strength left. I accidentally tripped and fell into the grass. Well, this fucking sucks. I fell to the ground and the two ghouls immediately pounced and pinned me down. One of them held me down to stop me from moving. The other one grabbed a piece of torn cloth and wrapped it around my wrist, attempting to wrap my hands behind my back.
やった本当に小娘ださっき一人食ってまた一人食えるぞ娘を食え娘を食え
They tied my hands up and mumbled some insane words. It's over now. I was captured by the ghouls. I was going to be eaten. I got scared instantly and wanted to resist, but they had me completely pinned down. I couldn't move a muscle. Oh, fuck. My hands were tied behind my back. The ghouls herded me like a sheep into a small cave on the nearby mountainside. It was close to where I camped earlier, probably just 300 steps away. Walking along the mountain path to the cave entrance, I realized it provided a perfect vantage point overlooking the spot where I had just lit my fire. I sensed a deep sense of regret. If I hadn't started the fire earlier, perhaps they wouldn't have spotted me. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I should have realized this. If there was a sign of a fire, there were probably people nearby. But no matter how much I regretted it, it was already too late. In the cave, there were various odds and ends scattered about. It was very dark, so I initially couldn't make out what they were. The ghouls threw me into a corner and then started a fire. The flames illuminated the cave. I was startled by what I saw. It was a mess inside, with clothes and miscellaneous items strewn all over the floor. At the center of the cave, there was a large pot. It emitted a foul odor and was still cooking. Beneath the pot were burning human bones, while inside the pot, human flesh simmered. Judging from the variety of bones and meat, they seemed to have been from numerous individuals. Witnessing the scene, my face turned pale, and tears quickly filled my eyes, because I sort of guessed what would happen to me next.
どうした後でお前も煮られてこうなるんだ
A ghoul looked at the pot from afar and approached me with a smile.
そうさ汚らしい小娘だがうまいはずだ
The other ghoul laughed and started eyeing me with his glinting
食
eyes.
べないでお願い私を食べないで
I was so frightened by them that I cried and begged them not to eat me, but it seems that my pleas wouldn't change anything. Instead, they only fueled their laughter. After crying for a while and seeing no signs of mercy from them, I was planning to resign myself to my fate. The tears went dry, and I slumped weakly against the rocky wall of the cave. Welp, if they were gonna eat me, at least I'd be able to meet Mom and Dad. That was what I was thinking when I leaned against the wall in the cave. However, it turned out much like the many events that followed. Whenever I thought I was gonna die, I always end up surviving. Seeing how I was crying and making a scene, the two ghouls thought I was no different from the other kids, so they let their guard down. Plus, they still had some meat left in the pot and couldn't finish it so quickly. So even though they said they were going to eat me, they didn't kill me right away. The duo tidied up a bit and quickly went to sleep. They were snoring loudly like lightning, making it hard for me to fall asleep. But of course, I didn't want to fall asleep either. I didn't want to just wait there for my death to come. I was really frightened, so I tried to move my position and rub the cloth binding my hands against the protruding rock in the cave. After grinding for a while, I tore through the skin in my hands and started bleeding. At the same time, the piece of torn cloth also wore away, and now I could move freely in the cave. Is she gonna kill them, or is she gonna just leave? After that, I didn't sneak out and try to escape from the cave. I hesitated for a bit before I picked up the dagger and stabbed one of the ghouls who was sleeping soundly. Yep. Putting all my strength into it, I also pressed my weight onto the dagger. It went in deep, piercing through the ghoul's neck, and he let out a groan before collapsing dead on the ground. The other ghoul, awakened by the sound, was still groggy from sleep and confused in the darkness, not understanding what was happening at first. Seizing the opportunity, I rushed forward and stabbed him too. He was struck by my attack, uttering angry curses that I couldn't understand. He grabbed my dagger, but I lunged at him again, stabbing him a second time. Or he tried to grab the dagger, this time in the belly. Bleeding profusely, the fear finally overcame him and he attempted to flee. However, he accidentally tripped over a bone, stumbling headfirst into the pot where the meat was still cooking. Wow, the irony of that. He thrashed around for a bit but couldn't free himself from the pot, then quickly ran out of breath. After that, even though I was hungry, I held back from eating the ghoul's flesh. I was afraid that if I ate their flesh, I'd become more and more like a ghoul myself. so I picked up some fruit that they stored in the cave and left, heading further south. Ever since I was almost eaten by ghouls, I no longer felt the mountain paths were safe. I started searching for the main roads to travel on. When walking along the main road, I would pay close attention to the sounds around me. With the slightest hint of human voices, I would hide and wait until they passed before I got on the road again. The further south I went, the better the situation became. The trees along the roadside pretty much all had tree bark, and wild grass and fruits were abundant and easier to gather. However, once in a while I still encountered people lying by the roadside. They were all dead. Some died from eating something poisonous. I wasn't sure what they ate, but it must have been unsoaked tree bark or kaolin clay, causing their bellies to swell grotesquely, resembling a pregnant woman as they lay dead on the roadside. Some were victims of violence, their bodies covered in blood, bearing multiple wounds. Dogs and birds gathered around them, feasting on their internal organs. Whenever I walked past corpses, I would check their faces, wanting to see if they were my dad. Throughout the journey, I often asked about Dad's whereabouts. Wherever I went, I inquired. After I escaped from the ghouls, I arrived at a place called Fuzhou. I asked the locals if they had seen Dad. The folks there told me that there were too many people like Dad, making it impossible to track him down, and advised me to give up. After that, I went to Baishu and Pucheng. The folks in Baishu told me that it was too common for families to be separated since people everywhere were fleeing from famine, so there was no point for searching more. And people in Pucheng told me that Dad was probably taken away to fight in the war. The border conflicts were escalating, so he must have been conscripted into the army. I didn't believe it, and I kept going south until I got to Weinan. I ran out of food I stored when I reached Weinan, so I slept under a broken roof next to an inn. I slept there the entire day until it was the inn's closing time. Until the old chef from the inn woke me up.
おい、何してるんだ。おや、女の子か。こら、なんでここで寝てるんだ。
The old chef looked at me, annoyed, and asked, gesturing as if he was ushering me away. I leaned against the inn's wall with my arms around my knees and looked up at him without saying a word. It had been many days since I talked to someone. I didn't feel like talking to them then either.
親はどうした？ほったらかしか？
He asked me again, and I shook my head.
口が聞けないのか。行くぞ。とりあえず宿屋に入れ。外は寒いからな。寝てたら凍え死ぬ。
The old chef told me that while he reached over to pull me into the inn. Aww. I guess the old man, she ended up finding someone that was actually sympathetic to her cause. I went into the inn with the old chef. He made me some stuff to eat. I totally devoured it and didn't leave any for him. He realized that I wasn't a mute only after I ate and said thank you to him. I told him everything about me. I told him I was from Northern Shan and we had a severe famine there. Everyone in my family died except for Dad, who never returned home. I had no idea where he went. And now I was fleeing the famine while searching for my dad. After the old chef heard my story, he let me sleep in the inn's storage room. The next day, he told the innkeeper that he needed help and wanted to hire me as an assistant. He pleaded with the innkeeper for a while, and upon hearing that I wouldn't take any wages, the innkeeper agreed. Aww. I guess that's how she learned how to cook and teach the other kids. So I had a job. It was my first time having a place where I could stay long term. I assisted the older chef at the inn, mainly helping him with the tasks like washing vegetables and cutting meat. Sometimes he'd even teach me to prepare simple dishes. I didn't take any wages and was content with just eating leftovers each day, which made things easier for the innkeeper. Over time, the old chef grew accustomed to my presence by his side and began to see me as his apprentice, gradually passing on his skills to me. His impression of me shifted from being a stray kitten with nowhere to go to becoming his disciple. My address for him changed from the polite old chef to Grandpa Chef. Wow, she really happened to find the right person. Time flew by fast. Before I knew it, I spent 6 months working as assistant cook in the inn. Grandpa Chef treated me well, and sometimes I even felt reluctant to leave. However, whenever I thought of my dad and the rest of my family who had passed away, I felt determined to continue my journey. After 6 months, because of some remarks I had heard from the inn's diner, I set out on my journey once again. The inn had many people coming and going. The kitchen wasn't far from where the guests ate, so sometimes when I helped Grandpa Chef in the kitchen, I would also listen to the conversations of the guests. One guest's words caught my attention. He mentioned that all of Shan was in turmoil, with many people suffering from the disasters. Some people even became rebels, while others turned into bandits. Those bandits would rob travelers on the road, taking money from men and assaulting women. To avoid leaving witnesses, they usually didn't spare anyone they robbed. And those bandits also shared a characteristic. They often stayed in the mountains for long periods and grew bored easily. They would frequently come down from the mountains to experience the hustle and bustle of the red light district. When it came to the best nightlife spots in Shan, none could rival the Yanyue Mansion in Chang'an City. Chang'an. Almost all the bandits had been to Yangyuan Mansion like it was their headquarters. If the visual soldiers ever decide to raid it, they'll definitely capture numerous leaders in one fell swoop. Red light districts, Chang'an Yanyue Mansion. I remember those words, even though I didn't understand them. I finally got some clues. Since there had been no news of Dad, he'd likely been captured by bandits or murdered. I want to ask about my dad, which meant I needed to learn about the bandits. And to do that, the Yanyue Mansion in Chang'an seemed like a good place to start.
料理人さん、私は明日出発するわ。
Ah.
出発する？どこへ行くんだ？
父を探す。
居場所は分かっているのか？どこなんだ？危ない場所じゃないだろうな。
Only gonna raid some bandits, kill those motherfuckers.
多分危なくない。長安へ行くの。
ああ、長安なら少しは安全だ。どうしても行くのか？
父を探すの。
わかった。じゃあ行くがいい。その前にたっぷり食べ物を用意してやる。
ありがとう。これからも会いに来るわ。
Oh. Huh. I know this is not what she ended up doing, but like in my mind I'm like thinking of like how could there possibly be like a happy end for her? And I've been like trying to rack my brain because it seems like after her revenge plot was foiled, she just was resigned to basically ending her life. But I wonder if there is an ending where maybe she lives and she ends up coming back to this inn to work because she found something that she can live for. Is this old person who took care of her? I don't know, maybe. I hope so, because I don't want her to just... I don't want every ending to lead to Mansui dying. That's all. She's already had it so rough. I feel really bad for her.
いや、お父さんが見つかったら早く会いに行くんだ。野良猫みたいにあちこち歩き回るんじゃない。はあ、この年老いた体も何年も動かさず日々を過ごすだけ。明日はまた新しい助っ人を探さねば。
Grandpa Chef sighed, pounding his back, and walked away. He's got a new goal. The next day, Grandpa Chef made me some stuff to eat and specially wrapped a package for me. I accepted the package he handed to me, thanked him, and embarked on a new journey. Fu Yuan Inn, Wei Nan. Before I left, I glanced at the inn's door plaque. If I ever pass by Wei Nan again in the future, I'd have to come here and visit Grandpa Chef. Alright, that's probably the chapter end, and we're gonna get Sweet chapter 7? Sweet chapter 6. Taking revenge. Is that a typo? Yeah. That was a typo. Okay, honestly, this is really long. I know that if I keep going, it's gonna be over 2 hours. But my plan is, I'll talk about this later, but I'll end up doing chapter 7 as well. After leaving Wei Nan, I kept going south and arrived at Chang'an City. The city walls of Chang'an were thick and tall like a mountain range. I snuck into the city by hiding in an ox cart carrying goods. There were plenty of people coming and going. The streets here were wide, spacious enough to accommodate 5 carts side by side. I heard that Chang'an had been the capital of many dynasties and was the most prosperous place in Shan. However, with the revenge burning in my heart and limited food and money, I had no desire to explore Chang'an. I started searching for the Yanyue Mansion the second I got into the city. Then I was kicked out by the servants guarding the entrance.
出て行け。ここは小娘が来る場所じゃない。
お願い、追い出さないで。調べたいことがあるだけなの。
親にどんなしつけをされたんだ。ここに調べることなんてあるか。
My parents are fucking dead. Yeah, because I guess their logic is the only reason a girl would want to come here is to get hired, and she's like 10, and she's like, bro, no, illegal.
その父が見つからないの。父のことを調べたいの。
だったらここじゃない。
どうして？中で調べさせて。お金も食料も持ってないけど、働くことならできる。料理に掃除、何でもやるわ。
ここの仕事に小娘はいらん。どう言えばいいか。早く行け。
The servant ushered me away, his face flushed with frustration. Many of the guests around the entrance burst into laughter upon seeing the scene. Why did they laugh? I watched the people around me burst into laughter, and I even felt more convinced that it didn't seem like a good place. Right when I was about to leave the Yanyue mansion, a woman's laughter filled the air.
笑えるわ。小さな娘がこんなところでお父さんを探してるなんて。世の中どうなってるの？
A woman walked out from the Yanyue mansion. She wore a gown that billowed like smoke, her hair falling softly over her chest, adorned with a striking golden hairpin. The lady was perhaps the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. At that moment, she was looking at me and laughing like mad while gently waving the fan in her hand.
姉さん、お見苦しいところをさっさと追い出しますので。
The servant who was kicking me out spotted her and quickly bowed respectfully to the woman.
やめて。この娘がなぜお父さんを探しに来たか知りたくないの？追い出したらつまんない。
Damn. Wow, she happened to knock on this inn while the manager, like, I don't know if she's a manager, but like, well, someone high up is like, man, it's been really boring here lately. This will spice some things up. The woman known as Sis Yoon smiled and stopped the servant from kicking me out.
3階の小部屋に案内して話がある。
That just kind of shows you how it's really weird to say this, but Mansui has gotten very lucky with getting leads and also surviving, or not getting leads but getting assistance. It's honestly, I did not imagine that she would end up meeting many people that would end up helping her. I thought there would be way too many like ghouls or like more selfish people, but there were surprisingly like no, she was able to actually get all the way here and potentially find a lead. Sis Yoon whispered to the servant, then turned around and covered her face with a fan as she slowly walked into the Yanyue tower. I stared blankly at her. After a moment, I heard the voices of the surrounding guests discussing, as well as the servants urging me to follow him upstairs. Tea! I followed the servant to a small room on the 3rd floor. Sis Yuan was waiting for me inside by the table. She finished a cup of tea and served me one while she gestured me to sit at the table in front of her.
お嬢ちゃん、どうしてここでお父さんを探してるの？
父について話を聞きに来たの。
She's like, why are you here to find stuff about your dad? I'm here to find stuff about my dad. It's like, that's what I just asked.
ここによく来るお客さんが父を殺した人らしいと聞いたから。
へえ、うちのお客さんがお父さんを殺した。
I stopped talking. I didn't want to go into details with her, so I lowered my
言
head.
いにくい事情があるみたいね。私に話してごらん。
I can't tell if Sis Yoon is sympathetic or just bored. But her voice when in this one-on-one conversation sounds a lot more caring than she was before.
話さなかったらどうやってあなたを助けるの？
I then told Yoon Sis about what happened back home. Our family suffered from disaster and didn't have any food. My dad left home to sell the family heirloom so our family could survive, but he never came back. I didn't go into details with her about what happened after that. I simply said that everyone but me and my family was dead. In the end, I burst into tears. When I was at the inn, Grandpa Chef never asked in detail about what happened to my family, so I never told him. But as soon as I got here, I ended up telling her everything when Sis Yoon asked. She's like, oh god, that was a lot more than I thought. After sharing my family story so openly with someone else for the first time, I couldn't help but cry.
あなたも苦労したのね。話を聞くと、あなたの予想通り、お父さんは盗賊に殺されたみたいね。これからは好きなだけここにいるといいわ。毎日私の手伝いをするの。 盗賊のことは私が探ってあげるし、あなたにいろいろ教えてあげる。
Wow.
どう？
I guess she was actually kind. That's not. I really didn't expect that. Huh. Sis Yoon heard what I had gone through and patted me on the shoulder. I wiped off my tears and nodded. I decided I would stay in the Yanyuan mansion for a while. And then she's gonna find the pawn shop, and that's where she's gonna find the pouch. After that, I became a servant of Sis Yoon. Every day, I served her tea and water and ran some errands. They were all very simple tasks. When Sis Yoon had some free time, she would occasionally teach me how to read, discuss the information she gathered from inquiring about bandits, and even impart some life skills on me. Sis Yoon often said that I was too straightforward with people and that I shouldn't be so naive when dealing with others. Oh, this was her mentor in basically how to survive as a woman in this time period. Because her mother didn't really help her with that. And, well, she knows that she has to be smart rather than be, you know, honest, because being honest like her father didn't help anyone. So that's how she learned how to basically manipulate people, because like how she manipulated Liang. That's actually really cool. She was like this when she first brought from She was also like this when she was first brought from the mountain village to Yanyuan Mansion. She always spoke the truth to everyone without telling a single lie. Huh. Oh, okay, so I was a little bit confused. What's saying is that the sister, I forgot her name already, Yoon? Okay. Sis Yoon was also naive and she suffered a lot for it, so she's trying to help Mansui not go through all that ordeal. She said that sometimes you have to tell lies to achieve your goal. If it was indeed some bandit who killed Dad, seeking revenge wouldn't be so easy. I need to tell many lies to get close to my enemy, and then even more lies to gain their trust, and then when their guard was down, betray them and kill them. Sis Yoon taught me a lot of stuff. I listened to all of this and learned the art of deception and manipulation from Sis Yoon. I stayed at Yanyuan Mansion for a long time, almost as long as I stayed at the inn. 1 month, 2 months, 6 months passed in the blink of an eye, and I continued to work as an assistant for Sis Yoon. After 7 months, I began to suspect that Sis Yoon wasn't keeping her promise. There actually weren't as many bandits coming into Yanyuan Mansion as she claimed, and in fact, there were only a few throughout the year. I never saw her inquire about Dad with those bandits. She only shared drinks and exchanged laughter with them. After the first month, Sis Yoon never brought up my dad's matter again, as if she had forgotten all about it. Just when I was about to ask her, she suddenly came to find me one day on the 8th month. Oh.
はい、これあげる。お父さんを探してきなさい。
Oh man, I really didn't expect Yoon to be so, like, sympathetic. Sis Yoon handed me a note that had words written in an ink brush on it. On the left were the names of several cities, each followed by names of some shops.
姉さん、これは?
I was confused and asked Sis Yoon.
ここ数年の災害で盗賊どもが続出して大勢を殺された。一人ずつ聞いてたらお父さんを殺したとしても覚えているとは限らないわ。
That's true.
でもあいつらと話すうちに聞き出せたの。あいつらは奪ったものが売れない場合はそれを質屋で売る。山賊が盗品を売る。
Yeah, it was a pawn shop. That's why she asked him in Loyan, not Loyan, in one of the earlier cities. I think it was the city where he killed Tung. I don't remember what it was called.
その紙には泉州の闇質屋が書いてある。自分で探すといいわ。
I see. I got what Sis Yoon meant. Dad left home with the family heirloom on him. If he couldn't find a good buyer, he'd definitely sell it to a pawn shop. If the bandits robbed Dad and they couldn't sell the family heirloom easily, they'd sell it to a pawn shop as well. Regardless of the circumstance, if I found our family heirloom at any of the pawn shops, I could potentially uncover clues about my dad.
ありがとう。
I held onto the note Sis Yoon gave me, feeling a renewed sense of hope bubbling inside me. Over the following year, I traveled to many cities in Shan, following the clues on the note and finding those dodgy pawn shops. I wanted to examine a lot of goods, but it wasn't easy to do so. Being young, many of the owners of these shops would chase me away upon hearing that I wanted to buy goods before I even had a chance to look. So I often had to do odd jobs at nearby inns to earn money. So once I saved enough to deposit with the shop owners, I could finally inspect the goods. Sometimes if I looked at the goods and decided not to buy, the shopkeeper would bully me because I was a child and try to take the money away that I had deposited with them. Chang'an, Fuping, Pucheng, and Weinan. I visited dodgy pawn shops in those 4 cities, but I didn't see the family heirloom that Dad had taken, nor did I find any other clues. After searching those 4 cities, I returned to Weinan and went to the inn where Grandpa Chef had worked. When I arrived, Grandpa Chef had passed away. Fuck! I knew he was old, but like, man, he didn't make it in time for her to come back. He had no children and didn't leave much behind. The innkeeper covered the funeral expenses, and there wasn't much ceremony. The innkeeper told me that Grandpa Chef left me a pair of shoes. They're simple cloth shoes, not worth much, but they could replace the worn-out straw shoes I've been wearing. Oh, that's why she kept them, because they have a lot of emotional value to her. She could have easily thrown them away because they were so worn out, but no. I put on the shoes he left me and continued south, heading to the dodgy pawn shops in Huazhou City.
この質屋で何が買えるか見せてもらえませんか？
シュッシュ、子供はあっちで遊んでる。
お金ならあります。奥の倉庫で品物を見たいんですけど。
They have a cutscene for this. I took out silver pieces and showed them to the pawn shop owner.
ダメだ。金があっても子供には見せられん。
じゃあ、私が何も買わなかったら1両銀を払います。
That's a lot. That could let you stay in an area for a day.
嘘じゃないだろうな。
本当です。先に銀子を預けておきます。嘘じゃないから。
From the bundle, I fumbled out one tael of silver pieces and placed them on the counter of the pawn shop. The pawn shop owner cast a skeptical glance at me, then reached out with his chubby hands and took the silver pieces I placed on the counter. He bit down on the silver pieces, testing their authenticity, before finally becoming satisfied.
まったく近頃の子供と来てた。
I can kind of understand why the guy's like that, because like in this age, people are gonna do anything to get any wealth, period. And if he lets people come in and expect their stuff, there's a very likely chance that those desperate enough would probably try to steal. So yeah.
やから入るがいい。見たらすぐに出てくるんだぞ。勝手に散らかすなよ。
The pawn shop owner rambled as he shook his chubby body, then grabbed a bunch of keys to unlock the door to the warehouse in the back. Once the door was open, I didn't pay him any more mind. I hurriedly dashed inside. The warehouse wasn't too big. There were only 2 shelves in it. There were various items on the shelves: candlesticks, pipes, belts, and used books. Sachets, rouge, jade pendants, and earrings. These used items were covered in layers of dust, with some showing signs of wear and tear or faint scratches. You can see the pouch here. Oh my god, fuck me! Some of them seem to have been dried black blood on them, indicating that they were indeed looted by bandits. Now abandoned in this dim pawnshop warehouse, they were unlikely to be cherished again. Many of their original owners were no longer around, and the stories surrounding these used items came to an abrupt end. I examined each item carefully, trying to find the one that could represent Dad. Family heirloom, family heirloom, family heirloom. Where could the family heirloom that Dad brought with him be? I scanned the shelves back and forth twice, but I didn't spot anything that resembled a family heirloom. But I scanned for the 3rd time, and I stumbled upon an unexpected discovery. I walked over to one of the shelves in a daze. There was a familiar item placed on the shelf. A pouch. This pouch looked like the one I gave to Dad. I slowly took down the pouch from the shelf and examined it carefully. This pouch was indeed the one I made for Dad. It was stitched by my own hands, using the fabric from my dress, so there was no mistaking it. It was red with the light color character "on" embroidered on it, because I wanted to bring him safety. Knowing Dad, he would never lose or pawn off this pouch I gave him. Someone must have killed him and brought this pouch here to pawn it off. I found it. I finally found it. I have finally found the clue about my dad that I've been seeking these 3 years.
小娘、買いたいものは見つかったか？
見つかった。
見つかった？おう、何を買うのかな？
The pawn shop owner shook his chubby body and squeezed into the warehouse door. He saw me crying the instant he walked inside and was shocked. At the time, I was crying, holding the pouch with one hand while wiping away my tears with the other. I didn't know why I was crying. Perhaps I was crying for my dad. I was now sure that Dad must have been killed by some bandits and I could never see him again. Perhaps I was crying for myself too. After searching for so many years, traveling through so many cities, and enduring so much hardship, I finally found a clue about Dad.
おい、 小娘。何を泣いている。古い小袋を買うだけなのに泣くほどのことか。
I wiped away my tears and looked towards the pawn shop owner.
ご主人、この小袋は誰が売ったの？
そんなこと聞いてどうする。
この小袋は私が作ったの。私が父にあげたの。父は帰ってこなかった。家族みんなが死んだ。誰がこの小袋を売ったのか知りたいの。父なのか、
Sorry,
悪党なのか。
client confidentiality.
ご主人、この小袋を売った人を教えてくれたらいくらでもお金を払う。
Yeah, I guess money doesn't matter at this point because she's fulfilled her goal.
足りなければ私が稼ぐ。1年、2年、3年でも稼いであげる。どうしても誰が売ったのか知りたいの。
Tears streamed down my face, my jaw quivering uncontrollably, yet I spoke to the owner with determination. I handed him the coin pouch tied to my waist. It contained silver pieces I had diligently saved over the past few months. Sis Yun taught me before that I must know how to lie to achieve my goal, but I didn't lie this time. Instead, I cried and told the owner everything. Afterwards, the shopkeeper sighed and proceeded to ask me several questions in detail. Then he took my money and said that one day, something serious was going to happen since he was breaking the street rule, all while sharing information I sought. Dad was indeed murdered by someone. The person who sold this pouch here was a bandit. He often killed people near Huazhou and frequented this shop to unload his loot. The owner told me a lot about the bandit, and that's how I found out the bandit's name. My sworn enemy's name was Liang. He was a bandit who roamed around Shan. He was constantly on the move and often seen with a person called Tung, and he was in Huazhou a month ago. He sold this pouch 2 years ago. He'd come to Huazhou 2 or 3 times every year and stay for a month or so each time. He often took jobs from a guy named Yin San. Oh, very okay. I was wondering how she made that connection. Come to think of it, she wasn't even originally part of the group of 4 that was supposed to be chosen. So by coincidence, things happened to work out for her. There's so many coincidences that lines up for her to basically go on her revenge plot. Wow. Liang. I repeated his name dozens of times in my mind, etching it into my memory. I wiped away the tears on my face. My teeth bit into my lower lip, drawing blood. My nails dug deep into my palms, drawing blood. This bandit named Liang killed Dad and caused the death of my family and became the sworn enemy of mine that I will hate for the rest of my life. Liang, I must find you, lie to you, betray you, and kill you. Seeking revenge on you is the only purpose for me to live on. Ooh, I think that's it. Yeah. From then on, she made the world her home, seeking revenge far. Bodies of the starved. So yeah, now we've reached our first major ending, which is Gone, where it seems like Mansui just kind of gave up on her desire for revenge because she realizes that Liang is a much better person, and I don't want to say doesn't deserve to die, but she's unable to kill him. Wow. I do feel like it was a bit much where it's like, yeah, things perfectly aligned for her to continue her revenge plot, but damn. Yeah, I'm gonna fit this in one episode, but my plan for next time is to go through the game again until I can get max affinity and then do these 3 sections. I do find it weird that there is 2 things where it's like finished body of the starved, finished body of the starved. Does that mean there's gonna be a choice, or is it gonna be like linear, not linear, but like progress into each other? It feels like it's weird that there are 2 different nodes that have the same unlock condition. That being said, there is 2 endings for like low affinity and medium affinity. I'm gonna be completely honest, I'm not gonna do them. I think I might watch a YouTube video on them and maybe talk about them in early next episode. I'll try to avoid this one because it seems like it's gonna be like quote unquote the true ending. But I guess I'll watch a YouTube video on this and see what happens. I'll probably talk about that first thing when I start next episode. Oh man, fuck me, man. Every Mansui chapter after the first one is so fucking depressing, but like makes so much sense. Like this entire game I feel so uncomfortable, but it also makes me feel like a lot of different emotions. It's doing a very good job at that. And I wonder if it, like, I plan for the next episode to be the last. I wonder if it can like tie up everything in a way that I am personally satisfied with, because it's been, I mean, this series is only maybe 10 episodes on my channel, but like, so it's gonna be like one of the shorter ones, but it's been quite impactful. Oh, fuck, my heart. It hurts. It hurts. But I'm sure it'll hurt even more next time when we finally finish off this game. Until then, I will be seeing you. See ya. Oh wait, actually, no. Before I do that, I do want to check something out. Sorry. Fake out. I just want to see what differences making this choice would be to give them a scolding and like not actually you know, not actually have them help out in the search later on. This will probably still result in result in Mansui leaving. Oh, there's a skip button. Didn't realize. Okay, I just saw when we actually no, we went back to there and we didn't see anything. Oh, it skips until there's new dialogue. Oh snap. Mansui was standing in the far end of the street in Loyang with her back towards me. She was standing pavement. She wasn't carrying an umbrella. Oh, did that give me enough to get the medium one? Hey, little brat. Okay, trying to approach, regardless, put me at ease. Turned towards me, tears welling up in her eyes. Is she crying? Why? And then she just disappeared. I see. Surrounded by soldiers. Soldiers form a tight circle around me, and I felt as if confining an iron barrel, making sure I couldn't escape. Return for his... Okay, I guess this is completely new, actually. In that case, am I... Oh, that actually got me the medium one. Wow, I guess... You know what? I guess I will look at this, because I guess that was enough to push me down to medium. I'll do that next time, because this is probably going to be like a decent sized ending on its own. But yeah, I guess never mind. I guess this is on the menu. I'll do the medium one next time, and then the rest here. I think I'll need a guide to find the rest. Either that or make choices that are obviously Mansui positive related. Anyways, now I'm gonna sign off, and I'll be seeing you next time. And until then, see ya!